Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here. And I'm not a happy camper. Nor should patriots in America be happy campers right now. What we've seen today is a total disregard for Brett Kavanaugh's innocence until proven guilty. The Bill of Rights, in which he has been nominated to protect, is being torn apart. The Democrats have already convicted a man with no witnesses. The accuser's memory is fuzzy at best. She doesn't remember date, time, or location. Is it 4 boys, 6 boys, or 2 boys? And why didn't her best friend Leland back up her story? And why did she wait so long to come out? Now she sounded like she was whimpering the entire time. I never saw a tear. I just heard the soap opera voice the entire time, like she was going to crack. And every leftist on that committee came on and said, I believe you, without a shred of testimony yet. They had not heard from Judge Kavanaugh at that point, who, by the way, passed through the Senate to be on the nation's second highest court in the land, the D.C. Circuit. And she's talking about threats to her family and to her home. What about the threats to Judge Kavanaugh's family and to his home? Why did you wait so long? Why are things changing? Why are the demon rats trying to pull 3 people out now? Because Dr. Ford apparently is not credible enough. And so they've dug for number 2 and number 3, and none of those stories add up either. The left is dismantling this process. And what we're seeing today is unprecedented. Never before have we seen the Senate Judiciary Committee rehear a nominee for the Supreme Court. Never. This is unprecedented. I believe you. The initial response from each and every one of those demon rats leftists on that committee. Now, never mind Ted Kennedy, the liberal lion of the Senate, who 30 years ago set up to make sure that conservatives stay off the Supreme Court. He, of course, fled the scene of an accident involving his lover, Mary Jo Kopechne, back in the 1960s. I believe it was 1969. Wore a neck brace to her funeral, which was a total fraud. His car was upside down, went off this railless bridge, and he gets out and leaves her to drown. Why? Why wasn't he convicted? Why was he reelected over and over? Because Democrats don't really care as long as it's a liberal, you see. Bill Clinton, rapist. We'll talk about Juanita Broaddrick here in a few minutes. She is in D.C. right now. She was raped by Bill Clinton. She has full account of where, when, how, why. But he wasn't convicted either because, you see, he was the Attorney General of the state of Arkansas at that time, the chief law enforcement officer. Who was going to convict him? But then he's elected president, and during the campaign before he was elected, all of these women came out of the woodwork to talk about how they had been sexually assaulted by Slick Willie Billy Bob Blowjob Clinton. But that was ignored as well, because the law apparently is different for liberals than it is for conservatives. Now, what you're seeing should be alarming to you, because if we the people are treated that way, if the precedent is set that we are guilty until proven innocent, then we're in big trouble, America. The left has put us in some big time trouble. They are dismantling our judicial system as we know it. What do? We fight back. And that's exactly what we've been doing. Brett Kavanaugh came across today very forceful in his opening statement. We'll play some clips from both Dr. Ford and Brett Kavanaugh. He should be angry. This should not be happening right now. If this had really happened to this woman, then why doesn't she have witnesses? Why isn't her best friend backing up her story? Why aren't any of these guys that were allegedly there coming forward and saying, yeah, that happened? I'll tell you why. Because it didn't happen. It started out as just a groping, and now he tried to rape me. The story just continues to change and change and change. Liberals, we believe you, and the conservatives, the Republicans on the court or on the Judiciary Committee are not asking questions. They've got a woman prosecutor who's asking the questions, and she's frankly being way too easy on Dr. Ford. Everybody's treating her as if she's a porcelain doll. No, she's an accuser who's trying to ruin the life of a man and destroy our judicial process because she doesn't like Donald Trump. This is all about Donald Trump. It's not about Brett Kavanaugh. It's about the balance of the Supreme Court. Donald Trump was elected in November of 2016 with 20 people on his list to be nominees to the Supreme Court. Last November 2017, he added about 5 more names. That one, one of the 5 was Brett Kavanaugh. The president yesterday held a press conference in New York in which he said that he's been told for 10 years that Brett Kavanaugh should be on the Supreme Court. He said he's been hearing Brett Kavanaugh's name for the last 10 years from people that say that guy, Brett Kavanaugh, should be on the Supreme Court. So yesterday, the president held a news conference in New York. He addressed the Kavanaugh situation as well as foreign affairs, as he also addressed the United Nations this week. Let's take a look at the president.
Well, it does impact my opinion. You know why? Because I've had a lot of false charges made against me. I'm a very famous person, unfortunately. I've been a famous person for a long time. But I've had a lot of false charges made against me, really false charges. I know friends that have had false charges. People want fame, they want money, they want whatever. So when I see it, I view it differently than somebody sitting home watching television where they say, oh, Judge Kavanaugh, this or that. It's happened to me many times. I've had many false charges. They're actually con artists because they know how quality this man is, and they've destroyed a man's reputation, and they want to destroy it even more. And I think people are going to see that in the midterms, what they've done to this family, what they've done to these children, these beautiful children of his, and what they've done to his wife. And they know it's a big, fat con job. And they go into a room, and I guarantee you, they laugh like hell at what they pulled off on you and on the public. They laugh like hell. People that have complained to me about it the most, about what's happening, are women. Women are very angry. You know, I got 52% with women. Everyone said this couldn't happen, 52%. Women are so angry. And I frankly think that they like what the Republicans are doing, but I think they would have liked to have seen it go a lot faster. But give them their day in court. Let her have her day in court. Let somebody else have a day in court. But the ones that I find, I mean, I have men that don't like it, but I have women that are incensed at what's going on. I've always said women are smarter than men. I've said.
President Trump yesterday in New York, the president also spoke about meetings with foreign leaders. He turned down a meeting, a one-on-one, with that pretty boy, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, because Trudeau wants to continue screwing us in this bad NAFTA deal that the president is doing away with. We've already made a deal with Mexico. And the president said the new deal is not going to be called NAFTA. It's going to be USMC, like United States Marine Corps, United States, Mexico, Canada. And if Canada doesn't want to play, then it'll be USM. And he says we will impose great tariffs, like 25% on automobiles being sent over from Canada. Now you say, Canadian automobiles? Well, there are a lot of manufacturing plants, GM and others, that have plants in Canada, and they bring their cars down. They're built up there, brought down here. I don't think Trudeau's going to like what's going to happen to his economy. In fact, the Chinese economy is already on the decline because we are stepping up and standing up finally. And the president was also asked about Kim Jong-un. Why are you meeting with him again? And the president said, because he has asked to meet with me again. We have a great relationship. Remember, when the president took office, we were this close to going to war with North Korea. If Hillary Clinton had been elected president, we would be at war with North Korea. Barack Obama gave $1.8 billion to a rogue nation to get 4 hostages back. President Trump didn't pay a dime to get hostages back from the North Koreans or bodies back from the Korean War since the 1940s, 50s. I mean, come on now. Give the guy some credit. Things are happening. And if Kim Jong-un is willing to talk and feels that he has a connection with the president, what's wrong with that? Do you prefer war? Because the Democrats talk about how Republicans are such warmongers, yet strong Republican administrations help us to avoid wars, unless it's George W. Bush, and that was kind of something he inherited from Bill Clinton. We could debate about the Iraq War all day and all night. I mean, I think there were mistakes made there. But that's hindsight. What's happened has happened. ISIS has been dismantled. The Kurds are winning. And the president spoke favorably about the Kurds yesterday as well at his press conference. But we'll talk about foreign affairs on another day. Today it's Brett Kavanaugh's day and his accuser, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. Now, Juanita Broaddrick is also in Washington, D.C. today. But before I talk about Juanita, I want to ask you, who is more likely to report being a victim by teen dating violence? Boys or girls? The answer is, according to a brand new study, data proves that guys are more likely to report being victims of domestic dating violence committed by partners who hit, slap, or push them than girls are. Now, I saw that firsthand because I had a member of my family that was, I'm not going to say who, but was abused by his girlfriend at the time. Over and over and over and over again. But he had been taught not to hit girls. And so the abuse continued to happen until finally the relationship was done. Bill Clinton's accuser, Juanita Broaddrick, stood in front of the Dirksen Senate office building today, pointing out the hypocrisy of Schumer and Feinstein and Durbin. They refused to even read about allegations that she had against Bill Clinton, then Attorney General of Arkansas, who raped her, bit her on the lip, and said, "You better put some ice on that," as he left the room. But now they're pushing those same people, Schumer, Feinstein, and Durbin, to convict Brett Kavanaugh before even hearing any testimony at all. Speaking of Ford, we've got her testimony. We'll also have some pieces from Kavanaugh's opening statement coming up. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in 60 seconds. This is The Todd Tucker Show.
Do you have problems with pain, anxiety, or sleeplessness? Come see us at Can Help Wellness, where we can help. Stop by any of our 4 wellness centers to find out how premium CBD products can help you find relief. From balms to tinctures to even products for your pets. Natural, safe, organic relief and lab tested with certifications. Reach out to one of our wellness consultants today at 405-455-3012 or online at cann-help.com.
If you want to continue to hear conservative talk, news up to date, don't depend on rhinos on the radio or liberals on the radio. Become a patron. OTU Media. We are creating news, commentary, live stream, special reports. Brooke is in D.C. now. You saw her interview with Louis Gohmert yesterday, the congressman from the 1st District, who, by the way, said, "Thank God for Oklahoma." Yeah, I love it when a Texan says that. And all you have to do, every dollar counts. Every dollar you give helps us to keep the lights on and the cameras rolling. So make sure you become a patron today. Also, I want to thank WeFixHailFree.com, WeFixHailFree.com. Vanna White, your arms are getting really hairy. All right, so President Trump didn't want to interfere with today's Supreme Court or the Senate Judiciary Committee on Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. So he has delayed his meeting with Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein for sometime next week. The president spoke with Rosenstein on the phone today, and they both agreed that it's best not to talk today, to make sure that they put it off until next week so that the news cycle focuses on what's happening at the Senate Judiciary Committee and not on the situation with the Deputy Attorney General. The president didn't sound like he had made up his mind to fire Rosenstein, and I'm not sure Rosenstein has made up his mind that he's going to resign. I don't really know what's going on, but I know the president's a very smart man, and that's something that we're going to watch very, very closely. Now, as for Dr. Ford, Joe Manchin, he is a moderate Republican in very red West Virginia. He's running for re-election. He is one of the Democrats that has said that he will probably vote in favor of Brett Kavanaugh. Well, he's in trouble right now in West Virginia. Patrick Morrisey, the Republican, is tied with Manchin. Now, anyone who knows anything about politics knows that when an incumbent is tied with weeks to go before the election, that's not a good sign for the incumbent. I still say the Republicans will pick up some Senate seats. Not sure about the House. I think we'll lose 10, maybe 15 seats there, but still maintain control. And Brooke is there in Washington right now to promote Jim Jordan for the next Speaker of the House, because Jim Jordan is the true conservative running for Speaker. You see, we haven't had a real conservative Speaker since Newt Gingrich. All the rest have been pedophiles like Dennis Hastert, the former wrestling coach who apparently liked to wrestle with boys in more ways than one. And then you had, what's his name, the alcoholic Boehner. And we had Nancy Pelosi for a little bit on the Democrat side. And then we have Paul Ryan, none of which are conservative by any stretch. So Jim Jordan is our choice for Speaker of the House. Joe Manchin's in big trouble. Dianne Feinstein's opening statement today was a mockery of judges, a mockery of our judicial system of justice. We need young blood in Washington. Look at those old crotchety people sitting in the Senate right now. They go and they stay until you ask them to go. Notice I said you ask them to go. In other words, you tell them to go at the ballot box. We've got some fossils in Washington, D.C. on both sides of the aisle who need to go. We need young blood. But then who wants to enter politics right now if you're young blood? Because you see what's happening if you're a conservative. You are trashed, you are smeared, you are lied about, you are attacked over and over and over again. The left they have no limitations on what they will do to smear the character of people who dare to compete against them. They weren't able to get Donald Trump because Donald Trump was just too smart for them. And yesterday, if you watched his news conference in its entirety, you would have seen the president doesn't take any crap off the media or anybody else. He takes and keeps control of the dialogue, not only on Twitter, but also in the presence of the media, and he has no problem telling the media exactly what he thinks about them. So we have Christine Blasey Ford. We're going to play some clips of her today from the Senate Judiciary Committee. Get your barf bags ready. Here we go.
My name is Christine Blasey Ford. I am a professor of psychology at Palo Alto University and a research psychologist at the Stanford University School of Medicine. I won't detail my educational background since it has already been summarized. I have been married to Russell Ford since 2002, and we have 2 children. I am here today not because I want to be. I am terrified. I am here because I believe it is my civic duty to tell you what happened to me while Brett Kavanaugh and I were in high school. I have described the events publicly before. I summarized them in my letter to Ranking Member Feinstein and again in a letter to Chairman Grassley. I understand and appreciate the importance of your hearing from me directly about what happened to me and the impact that it has had on my life and on my family. This is how I met Brett Kavanaugh, the boy who sexually assaulted me. During my freshman and sophomore school years, when I was 14 and 15 years old, my group of friends intersected with Brett and his friends for a short period of time. I had been friendly with a classmate of Brett's for a short time during my freshman and sophomore year. And it was through that connection that I attended a number of parties that Brett also attended. We did not know each other well, but I knew him and he knew me. In the summer of 1982, like most summers, I spent most every day at the Columbia Country Club in Chevy Chase, Maryland, swimming and practicing diving. One evening that summer, after a day of diving at the club, I attended a small gathering at a house in the Bethesda area. There were 4 boys I remember specifically being at the house: Brett Kavanaugh, Mark Judge, a boy named PJ, and one other boy whose name I cannot recall. I also remember my friend Leland attending. I do not remember all of the details of how that gathering came together, but like many that summer, it was almost surely a spur-of-the-moment gathering. I truly wish I could be more helpful with more detailed answers to all of the questions that have and will be asked about how I got to the party and where it took place and so forth. I don't have all the answers, and I don't remember as much as I would like to. But the details about that night that bring me here today are the ones I will never forget. I drank 1 beer. Brett and Mark were visibly drunk. Early in the evening, I went up a very narrow set of stairs leading from the living room to a second floor to use the restroom. When I got to the top of the stairs, I was pushed from behind into a bedroom across from the bathroom. I couldn't see who pushed me. Brett and Mark came into the bedroom and locked the door behind them. There was music playing in the bedroom. It was turned up louder by either Brett or Mark once we were in the room. I was pushed onto the bed, and Brett got on top of me. He began running his hands over my body and grinding into me. I yelled, hoping that someone downstairs might hear me, and I tried to get away from him, but his weight was heavy. Brett groped me and tried to take off my clothes.
Okay, stop this. Notice she said she went to a few parties that Brett Kavanaugh was present. Now, would you convict somebody based on this testimony where she can't give full answers? Really? Seriously, would you? Liar, liar, pants on fire. If somebody had sexually attacked you, would you go to numerous parties in which your attacker was present? I don't think so. This woman is an operative of the Democratic Party. She is an anti-Trumper. Her lawyers are working pro bono. She's not paying a dime for them. And she sounds very rehearsed, and she should, because she's delayed this long enough. This process needs to move forward and move forward now. This is Clarence Thomas hearings on steroids. These Democrats have got to be shown we will not take this bull crap. This woman is clearly a liar. She's clearly rehearsed. And it's very clear that everybody, including Republicans, are treating her with kid gloves because she's a woman. Well, guess what? Men have feelings too. And there are plenty of women out there, as the president pointed out yesterday, that are just as angry about this as anybody else. Because you see, her false allegations against Brett Kavanaugh hurt every woman who is truly a victim of sexual abuse. She is hurting you. She is hurting our system. She is going to make it to where we are guilty before being proven innocent in a court of law. That is the precedent that the libturds and this woman, that is the precedent that is being set right now. Finally, Judge Kavanaugh has his say. And we're going to take a quick break again, be back in 60 seconds with Brett Kavanaugh's opening statement. This is the Todd Tucker Show. All right, so Brett Kavanaugh, he has his say now before the Senate Judiciary Committee. I can't stand to watch these rats on the Senate Judiciary Committee on the left because they have absolutely no regard for Judge Kavanaugh or our system. It's a mockery. It's a circus. They are the clowns. Here's Judge Kavanaugh in his opening statement, and you can see he's very emotional, as he should be.
They work for one-year terms for judges after law school, and then they move on in their careers. For judges, training these young lawyers is an important responsibility. The clerks will become the next generation of American lawyers and leaders, judges and senators. Just after I took the bench in 2006, there was a major New York Times story about the low numbers of women law clerks at the Supreme Court and federal appeals courts. I took notice and I took action. A majority of my 48 law clerks over the last 12 years have been women. In a letter to this committee, my women law clerks said I was one of the strongest advocates in the federal judiciary for women lawyers. And they wrote that the legal profession is fairer and more equal because of me. In my time on the bench, no federal judge, not a single one in the country, has sent more women law clerks to clerk on the Supreme Court than I have. Before this allegation arose 2 weeks ago, I was required to start making certain administrative preparations for my possible transfer to the Supreme Court, just in case I was confirmed. As part of that, I had to, in essence, contingently hire a first group of 4 law clerks who could be available to clerk at the Supreme Court for me on all 4 are women. If confirmed, I'll be the first justice in the history of the Supreme Court to have a group of all women law clerks. That is who I am. That is who I was. The past 7 years, I've coached my 2 daughters' basketball teams. You saw many of those girls when they came to my hearing for a couple of hours. You have a letter from the parents of the girls I coached that describe my dedication, commitment, and character. I coach because I know that a girl's confidence on the basketball court translates into confidence in other aspects of life. I love coaching more than anything I've ever done in my whole life. But thanks to what some of you on this side of the committee have unleashed, I may never be able to coach again. I revere the Constitution. I am deeply grateful to President Trump for nominating me. He was so gracious to my family and me on the July night he announced my nomination at the White House. I thank him for his steadfast support. When I accepted the President's nomination, Ashley and I knew this process would be challenging. We never expected that it would devolve into this. Explaining this to our daughters has been about the worst experience of our lives. Ashley has been a rock. I thank God every day for Ashley and my family. We live in a country devoted to due process and the rule of law. That means taking allegations seriously. But if the mere allegation, the mere assertion of an allegation, a refuted allegation from 36 years ago, is enough to destroy a person's life and career, we will have abandoned the basic principles of fairness and due process that define our legal system and our country. I ask you to judge me by the standard that you would want applied to your father, your husband, your brother, or your son. My family and I intend no ill will toward Dr. Ford or her family. But I swear today, under oath, before the Senate and the nation, before my family and God, I am innocent of this charge.
Thank you, Judge Kavanaugh.
Due process and the rule of law. Well, that's something the Democrats need to learn. Due process and the rule of law. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all of those things are at stake right now because the left is on the attack. You see, they don't like our Constitution. They don't even like our history. They want to see history erased, the parts that they don't like. So they've gone after statues and museums and memorials because they don't like it. You see, America is the country it is today because of our history, good and bad. You can't fully erase history. You can't do it. You can try, but you can't do it. So as parents, it's our responsibility to make sure that our kids know the history of this country and how it came into existence and why. Because they're not going to learn it in school anymore. Because the left has also taken over education. And you see, it's sad, but we don't have real civics classes or real government in our schools anymore, government classes. You see, when I was in high school, we were able to learn about our government. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Mostly beautiful. We learned about the things that we did wrong. History is not only something, because if you ignore history, if you erase history, you're doomed to repeat it. And so we've got a responsibility to our kids to teach them, to encourage them to learn about our country, to encourage them to independently study our country so that they know, so that they can make a decision on their own. You know, all they've got to do is read about our Constitution and about our history, and they can come and discuss it with you. It's a sad day in America because the left is on the attack, and they're after your rights and mine. I still maintain that Brett Kavanaugh will be confirmed to the Supreme Court, that this, like Clarence Thomas, will be something that will be remembered, but the business of the court needs to move forward. What I am concerned about is future people, future nominees to the court are going to be afraid to answer or to say yes because they're afraid of the very thing that's happening to Judge Kavanaugh right now. A victory for Judge Kavanaugh is a victory for our process. If I thought for 1 second that Brett Kavanaugh was guilty of assaulting this woman, then I would be the first to say he needs to remove himself from consideration. And the president said if Brett Kavanaugh were guilty, he would remove himself from this situation. But I saw a man, a deeply religious man, say before God, in front of his family, in front of his country, a nationwide audience, I am innocent of these charges. And I didn't see anything from Christine Blasey Ford today that changed my mind. What I saw was somebody who faked emotion, who was surrounded by 2 attorneys who are working pro bono. She'll never have to pay a dime for them. And a Senate Judiciary Committee who already has made up their mind that Brett Kavanaugh is guilty, the Democrats on that side, on the left, and that she's telling the truth. That's before Brett Kavanaugh even had his say. So I would ask Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the committee, to move after today to take this to a vote of the full Senate, for Brett Kavanaugh to be confirmed, and for us to move past this. Because we have things to do in America. This is more about America than it is about politics. It should be country before politics. It should be right before wrong. And we have an obligation and a duty to our kids, our grandkids, and to their kids to make sure that our system, our way of life is not hijacked by the extremists on the left. The U.S. has estimated that 80,000 Americans died of flu during the last flu season. That's a lot. You know, the flu is a big pain. Ken Johnson of the Oklahoma City County Health Department is going to come in Monday with a nurse who's going to administer flu shots to Frosty and me so that we're protected from the flu virus. Now, just because you get the shot doesn't mean you won't get the flu, but you won't get the flu as bad as you would if you weren't protected at all. So, the upcoming season could be ugly. Frosty and I are going to be protected. We're going to get our shots.
You're still making me do that live on the air, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. Frosty wants his shot in the butt. They don't do that anymore.
Why not? That's
well,
the easiest place to go.
They just don't.
There's a lot of fat down there. They just poke it and it's done.
They just don't. And especially not on camera. All right, Monday's a big day in Oklahoma. Wow, we're in the 21st century already. Full-strength beer and wine. Refrigerated.
Oh, that happens Monday?
Monday, October 1st. You get your flu shot, and then you can go and buy yourself some beer.
We're living in 6 Point Land, Todd!
6 Point Land. Guess what? The Budweiser Clydesdales are delivering a case of 6 Point Bud to the state capitol 9 a.m. Monday.
Ah! That's the best news I've heard.
Maybe we should send Frosty on assignment.
Yes. Yes.
You want to go?
I would like to go.
6 Point beer. A few weeks ago, I was at Crest, probably a couple of weeks ago, and they were selling as much of the 3.5 beer as they could to get it off the shelves so they could make room for the 6 Point. And the refrigeration, all that stuff, people, I mean, it's just waiting. People are salivating, waiting for that 6 Point beer. Meanwhile, people that are Oklahoma Sooner fans are waiting for that beer to go on sale at the stadium. I don't think it's going to happen this year. Maybe next year. I could be wrong. Maybe before the season's up. Who knows? But it's got to go to a vote and, blah, blah, blah. The first medical marijuana plant has been sold in Oklahoma. That also is great news for Frosty. He's pretty excited about that. News 9's Aaron Brillbeck is on the scene on the story from the state capitol.
Yeah, the seedling is just a few inches tall, but backers of medical marijuana say it's a monumental achievement. The seedling was purchased at a dispensary in Fairfax, Oklahoma by John Frazier, a Vietnam-era veteran who struggles with PTSD and a variety of ailments.
I didn't think it was going to happen in my lifetime, and that's what's so really great about this is that's why we did the sale. We wanted everybody to know that, yes, cannabis is for sale here in Oklahoma. Medical cannabis is for sale.
Frazier will have to wait another 30 to 45 days for the plant to start to bud, but he says the point is medical marijuana license holders can now grow their own.
Yes, you can. You can grow yours too. If you're a medical cannabis patient, you can have 12 plants, 6 seedlings and 6 in bud.
A state legislative committee met today for the 10th time to discuss regulating medical marijuana. One of the issues they're dealing with is that all plants sold here have to be grown here. It's illegal to grow plants with seeds that are already here, and the federal government says it's illegal to bring them in from other states.
I wanted to do this 100% legally. I can't.
No, you cannot. Yeah, federally, the law has not changed. To the extent federal law does conflict with what the voters of the citizens told their legislators to do, we're going to ignore it, and we're going to do what the citizens told us to do.
Frazier says he'll let the politicians handle those details. The point, he says, is
the plants are for sale. There you go. Drag it all out all you want. The plants are for sale. We're going to start getting plants to patients in Oklahoma.
Medical marijuana licenses are good for 2 years, and they cost you $100. We're live on the scene on the story at the state capitol. Aaron Brillbeck, News 9.
All right, Aaron.
Our friend Aaron Brillbeck from the state capitol. Now, that was a pretty plan. Didn't you think, Frosty?
Absolutely.
Okay, my question is, how are they going to know whether the seeds are native to Oklahoma or not? Do they do a DNA test on the seeds? Are they going to go and knock on everybody's door that has a medical marijuana license and run a check to see where the seeds came from?
Probably not.
I understand and respect federal law. I know the president is talking about decriminalizing medical marijuana and leaving it to the states. In fact, decriminalizing marijuana, period, on a federal level and leaving it up to the states. But my question is, how do you know whether the seeds whether they were grown here in the first place or not? My second question is, because I'm not a horticulturist, But I'd like to know, how do you come across seeds from Oklahoma if there are no plants here legally? I mean, they got to come from somewhere to begin with, right? So how do you know?
There was some farmer out in the boonies who happened to have a big patch of them that he gave away. Who knows?
But they had to start somewhere, right? There had to be a seed to start the plant. So I'm just wondering, how do you know? How will they know?
No way to tell.
So are you going for do you have some kind of condition in which you're going to ask for a medical marijuana card?
Oh yeah, my mom has lupus and I have anxiety and I also have a greenhouse, so I'm definitely going to need some plants.
Everybody's got anxiety. This is 2018, almost 2019.
I've got fatigue.
This has been a rough year, as you know. A very rough year. But the rattlesnake's about to strike. So the first medical marijuana plant has been sold in Oklahoma. License is only $100 for 2 years.
Yeah.
And you grow your own. Now, here's another question I have, and I don't know why I'm asking you because you're not supposed to know this, but if you get the card and you get the seeds and you grow the plant and it's pretty like the plant we saw on camera, how do you make it usable? I mean, because obviously marijuana that's been sold doesn't look like the beautiful plant.
Uh-huh.
So what do you do with it?
There is a little bit of a process to it, and
right.
a little bit of
a process,
a little bit of drying, and
drying.
Just kind of what comes off of it.
What if you kill every plant you've ever touched, like I do?
Then you need to hire a gardener or a botanist to manage these plants for you at a reasonable rate.
Okay.
I'm sure there are plenty you can find.
I'm sure.
There's a process to it. I don't know. I've never taken weed off a plant. I'm not sure how it works, but you dry something, you pull it off, and then you do what you got to do with it. Bake it into brownies.
So that would be called edibles, right?
Something like that.
Okay.
Not that I know too much about it.
No, not at all.
I've been to Colorado once.
So when you go to Colorado, do they have these stores, bakeries, where you go in and you say, I want brownies or Rice Krispie treats, or how do they make like marijuana gummy bears? Is it liquid?
Sort of.
Okay.
Okay, here.
I'm trying to figure it out. You can take my Whataburger cup there.
We're on a whole new topic now, and this is my area of expertise.
Okay.
Like with gummy bears, they put put the THC, because they have like a liquid for it. You know, you can get it down to just pure THC, and they just make gummy bears with it. Because a gummy bear is just sugar that they put into a bear.
Right.
Like they mold it. They just put THC in the sugar, and then they put the bear in there, and then you eat the bear, and you get a little touch. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You get a little bit out of it. But they do that with anything. Like when it's brownies, you just...
And I guess with cookies or whatever, you just put do you put the liquid or do you put the actual plant in?
Sort of. With cookies, you get butter. Like you use butter with the cookies, but the butter is infused with THC. So that when you mix it with the cookies in the baking process and they eat it, it absorbs through the butter, and that's how you get your
So do the cookies or the brownies taste like weed?
Depends on who's making them, but usually no. Like when I went to Colorado last year, they did not.
Okay.
They did not whatsoever. It was great. Dude, this is technology.
How long does it take for these cookies or brownies or gummy bears to make you feel less anxious?
About 2 hours.
2 hours? Well, I could have a panic attack by then.
Don't use edibles then. Use them like ahead of time. It's like, man, I've got a big thing coming up. I know I'm going to be anxious about 3 o'clock today as soon as this football game kicks off. So you got to eat your cookies 2 hours before. Anxiety.
Notice how he transitioned into sports balls. Did you notice that?
I did.
And after coming off the bench to lead the Cleveland Browns to a victory over the New York Jets, guess who has been nominated for the Pepsi Rookie of the Week award? Would you like to guess, Frosty?
That sounds like such a stupid made-up award. The Pepsi Rookie of the Week.
Who do you think it is?
It's Baker, the Mayweather Field Monster. I don't know.
Yeah, and Baker was at the OU Army game this past weekend, and Baker is a star in the making, as we knew already. Statue going up in Heisman Park, 6th Heisman Trophy winner from Oklahoma, number 6, ironically. That guy's one heck of a football player. But this weekend we take on Baylor. You going to go to the game with me?
No.
You're not.
No, I went last time. It sucked. I don't want to go again.
Yeah, okay. You just keep telling yourself that.
And I hated it.
We're going to break. We'll be back with more on the Kavanaugh hearings in 60 seconds. Don't move.
Do you have problems with pain, anxiety, or sleeplessness? Come see us at Can Help Wellness, where we can help. Stop by any of our 4 wellness centers to find out how premium CBD products can help you find relief. From balms to tinctures to even products for your pets. Natural, safe, organic relief and lab tested with certifications. Reach out to one of our wellness consultants today at 405-455-3012 or online at cann-help.com.
All right, we're going to replay, just in case you joined us, Brett Kavanaugh, who is testifying right now before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he talks about the Constitution of the United States. We're going to roll that clip one more time, then we'll come back with comment, and we're going to talk about tomorrow's guest. They have a huge following. These guys are doing great things in Oklahoma. Are you down with OPP?
Yeah, you know me.
All right, we're going to do that here in a second. First, here's Judge Kavanaugh.
I revere the Constitution. I am deeply grateful to President Trump for nominating me. He was so gracious to my family and me on the July night he announced my nomination at the White House. I thank him for his steadfast support. When I accepted the president's nomination, Ashley and I knew this process would be challenging. We never expected that it would devolve into this. Explaining this to our daughters has been about the worst experience of our lives. Ashley has been a rock. I thank God every day for Ashley and my family. We live in a country devoted to due process and the rule of law. That means taking allegations seriously. But if the mere allegation, the mere assertion of an allegation, a refuted allegation from 36 years ago, is enough to destroy a person's life and career, we will have abandoned the basic principles of fairness and due process that define our legal system and our country. I ask you to judge me by the standard that you would want applied to your father, your husband, your brother, or your son. My family and I intend no ill will toward Dr. Ford or her family. But I swear today, under oath, before the Senate and the nation, before my family and God, I am innocent of this charge.
Thank you, Judge Kavanaugh.
Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, was rather heated today, as he should be, as this process has become a total circus, a disruption, a threat to our Constitution. And it disillusions anybody who is feeling called to public service. Will the next Supreme Court pick from President Trump, or any other president for that matter, say no thank you because of this and because of Clarence Thomas? It's amazing to me because Ruth Buzzard Bader Ginsburg, Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, Stephen Breyer, all of those are liberal leftist judges, but yet they were passed by the Republicans because Republicans don't play that way. We don't go digging for dirt on people. And we believe in due process. We believe in rule of law. We believe in the Bill of Rights. We believe in our Constitution. And right now, our Constitution is under attack. Conservatism is under attack. You, my friends, are under attack. If you're a woman and you've been a victim of a sex crime, this should make you angry, because this is a mockery. And it cheapens what has happened to you. Look at Juanita Broderick, who's in D.C. today. She never got to sit before a committee and tell her story about Bill Clinton. Instead, she had to take to TV and writing a book to tell about her story about being raped by Bill Clinton, who later became the President of the United States. Now, can you imagine for 1 second having been raped and had your lip bitten by somebody that you had to see in the news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, read about in the newspaper, see on the cover of magazines every time you go to the supermarket or to Walmart or to Target or any place else, Sam's, Costco? It's time for America to take control. It's time for conservatives to stand up. It's time for us to elect real, conservative, constitutional-loving people to serve in our country. It's time for people like Feinstein, Schumer, Durbin, Whitehouse, that's the guy's last name, Minnie Ho-Ho from Hawaii, Kamala Harris, who has raised all kinds of money for this Ford woman. Man, with friends like that, who needs enemies, right? It's time for us to vote these people out. Pocahontas, what a fraud. There are some Republicans that need to go too, like fluky Jeff Flake, but he's already retreating. He's running off. He's not going to seek re-election. There are others. But I'll tell you what, you know who wins today? The left. People like Morning Joke, the adulterer, and his lover Mika Brzezinski. They win because it's ratings. Rachel Madcow wins because of ratings. Fox News wins because of ratings. Nobody watches CNN, so I'm not even going to say they're going to get ratings. They'll get, a little bump, maybe. And then Lester Holt from MSDNC, no, he's with NBDNC, excuse me. The NBC Nightly News, the lowest rated in history. Those people win today. But we lose unless we stand up. Call Chuck Grassley's office, call your senator, and say, enough of this already. Confirm Judge Kavanaugh now. Tomorrow, the guy from OPP, Oklahoma Pedophile Prevention, will be with us. We also, by the way, I'll hit that here in a second, remind me. Also, those guys, we'll have some videos from them. They're out busting child predators all the time in Oklahoma City. And I'm looking forward to going out with them sometime because they do amazing work. And they even talked about us on their videos before, Frosty. In a good way, not in a bad way.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, we're not predators. But these guys are out protecting our children who are being preyed upon by perverts on dating apps all the time. So know what your kids are doing. But those guys are here tomorrow. Sonic and JT, are you down with OPP?
Yeah, you know me.
That's tomorrow on the next Todd Tucker Show at 3 p.m. Central. We'll also update you on the Brett Kavanaugh situation. And hopefully we'll be talking about his confirmation tomorrow. 3 o'clock Central. Tomorrow is Friday. Pretty excited about that. Make sure you wear your colors tomorrow. Remember, God loves you and so do I. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Oklahoma. Remember, the heart of the wise inclines to the right, the heart of the fool to the left. Ecclesiastes 10:2. We'll see you tomorrow.